Obi-Wan as a series. Let's talk about it.
Hello there.
Hello. Welcome to
uh,
a podcast with no name, where we talk about comics and stuff. And today we're talking about Obi-Wan
Ben.
Kenobi.
I know we touched on it earlier, but I'll say it again. It definitely should have been a movie.
Yeah,
Probably flowed better as a movie. And there were a bunch of missed opportunities, I think, with some characters. Like Reva, I feel like they didn't know how they wanted her to be.
I think they did know how they wanted her to be. I think that they just didn't know how to execute it. Because the way that I see Reva is as a great parallel to Anakin, which is that they're both young, emotional, angry, and just loud characters. It's who they are. They just do things and they want to express their feelings. That being said, I think that it would have been more interesting. I think Reva would have been more interesting if, since this was a TV show, they gave more time to explore her versus just being like here's this person who hates this person and doesn't want to become like them, but inevitably does or doesn't.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. Um,
Like it felt very rushed towards the end when she was like when all of it was happening.
yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, "Why? What's happening? Why are you doing this now?" But I mean, that's just how it is when it's just a short series rather than just kind of like a long movie. I would have rather it had been a long movie. It would have flowed better. And then, like you said, Reva would have probably gotten more actual screen time.
Yeah, I feel like she definitely did like the screen time, and whenever it was her getting screen time, it was I must find Kenobi, I must find Kenobi, and then we find 3 episodes in what her actual motivation to find Kenobi is for, and I feel like they should have just given that to us way earlier, and then delve straight into the like. If you're gonna do 6 hour long episodes, spend a lot of time on a new character and explore their motivation for why they do things versus just throwing them in to have something to compare with, but without doing the work to make it interesting or not interesting, important, because it
And
was interesting, but it didn't feel important.
and I don't know if it was just me who noticed, but a lot of dialogue for a lot of the characters, like I don't know what the writing team was doing, but a lot of those lines were not hitting.
Yeah,
I was sitting there, I was like, oh, and like even from like Ewan and Christensen, like I was like, yeah, some of these aren't it.
yeah. I mean, I think Hayden's lines were mostly fine. I think Ewan's at the beginning it definitely made sense because it was Kenobi after a few years of hiding, feeling disconnected from the Force and all of that. It made a lot of sense in the way that he was acting, but it just all of a sudden it switched, and there was a lot of just this versus this with characters, and you need this. You can't just have everybody jumping to where they are all of a sudden.
Agree.
That being said, I thought the entire series was very fun, and the fight between Darth and Kenobi was ultimately worth it, in my opinion. I think that it did a lot of great things. Um, I was kind of expecting a Marvel-esque, Disney-esque joke about the high ground when Kenobi didn't have it, but instead to just let Anakin's anger and emotion overtake him and make a mistake felt very on brand for the character that we now know.
Yeah, that final fight, I want to say, was honestly jaw dropping. It was really good.
Yeah,
I did find it hilarious that they're just throwing rocks at each other, uh, but it was very enjoyable. The dialogue in there I think was really good too, especially that one line where Vader is like, "You did not kill."
Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
that
that
was
line.
that was brilliant. Um, it was also brilliant just how the cinematography for that fight scene was incredible with the overhead shots and the swooping shots. It really it didn't distract you. It just engaged you the entire time. I thought it was really well done.
I will say Vader was done very well in the series. at the very least. He was very, his presence was menacing.
Yes,
Yeah, which I
a big
think,
help of that is like Hayden being 6'7" in the suit.
yeah,
Like that's just intimidating.
like
Yeah,
between him force landing aircrafts and then just prying it open, and then I don't know if this counts. Are we talking about just the final episode or the whole series?
we can talk the whole season.
I did like in the fight between Vader and Reva, like he takes the saber, throws it back, beats her again, and then takes it again.
Yeah,
Like just to show how like different they are. I did enjoy. Vader was great.
yes, I felt that Vader and Kenobi ultimately were very good and on brand for their characters, especially if you take Obi's like transition between being unsure of himself because he failed his student to now being unsure of himself because he failed his student in a different way. He wasn't able to kill him and therefore save millions of lives. And I also just loved how emotional they let Anakin be as Darth Vader as he's still transitioning into being Darth Vader because he's only been him for a few years.
Yeah,
And we know we have 10 years until he is completely stone cold, emotionless Darth Vader, which he's
right.
not. He's still very much emotional in all of his fights with Luke. But it's not to the same degree that he is in the prequels and in this movie. Also, I watched an interview last night between Hayden and McGregor talking about it, and one thing that was really interesting was they were talking about how much lightsaber battles have evolved over the time because now they're like using hard plastic that looks like a lightsaber, even with the LED color in it, and it can create the like spark, not the full spark, but it can create the like the white LEDs when they connect and cause like a splashing animation with it. Back during the prequels, they just used these like metal malleable beams or bars that they had to use, and every single fight, the bars would bend and break and become brittle. That they had this one guy whose whole job was to make these lightsabers and then give them to them for all the fight scenes. So every day, every cut, they're using a different lightsaber essentially.
Especially in episode 3, I can imagine that guy was going. It's like, oh, stop!
And they even remembered his name too, which was hilarious because it was like we just dealt with him so much, like we learned his name. But yeah, it was. I enjoyed the series. I don't think it's Mandalorian levels of excellence, but I don't think I don't think I needed it to be. I think I needed it to be better than Boba Fett, which it was, and I needed it to be fun, and it was. And that little girl who plays Leia is Leia. Like she just had the snottiness personality of Leia the entire time, and I enjoyed it. But yeah,
all in all, I give the show like a high 6 or a low 7 for me personally.
yeah, I was thinking like a 7 to a 7.5. I think I'm a little bit higher on it than you were.
Yeah, there are some things I could have let pass. Like a lot of dialogue throws me off, but that's just how I am. If a line sounds too cheesy, but not cheesy enough for me to laugh, then
that's fair. I did like that we got a hello there.
That made me happy.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that scene actually.
Yeah, there's a lot about the show that I really enjoyed.
The little cameo at the end, we get to see Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
nice. We all saw that coming, but like,
yeah, the casting of Owen was incredible. Like, I don't know how they did it because that was perfect. It was the one casting that had potential issues, and it was perfect. They could have gotten Chris Pratt. Like, let's just be real. We could have gotten Chris Pratt.
Do you think they would have put Chris Pratt there?
I don't think he would have done it. I think his ego's too big now. It wouldn't have been a big enough role.
We saw O'Shea Jackson.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him at first until like he started talking more. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Not Ice Cube?
Yeah. Yeah, when he first showed up, I was like, that's Baby Q. um, no, a lot of I thought he was also really good, but they just didn't really do a lot of favorites. I would be more interested in a season of his character helping out the rebellion than I would be of getting another season of Obi-Wan. I think we don't need a second Obi-Wan season. I think this is exactly what we needed from the series, and anything more would probably be detrimental.
With how important they made him seem like he's probably going to show up again.
Yeah,
I probably imagine Andor, maybe.
maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, with how important they made him seem, because they did give him good amount of dialogue, good amount of a relationship with Kenobi for the, when he finally appeared.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing Ewan McGregor and Hayden show up in other projects as their characters. I just don't think we need more of specifically Obi-Wan and Hayden.
Yeah. Them appearing is fine. They're having whole story arcs is not really necessary. Like, I'm sure Vader will appear in Ahsoka.
Yeah. Obi-Wan might appear in Ahsoka, and that would be, or no, he wouldn't at that point, because that's gonna be Vader won't show up either, because it's Ahsoka older, I believe.
All right.
Yeah, but they could have him show up in a lot of things, and several things coming that we probably don't even know of yet, and it'd be really cool. I am glad to see Hayden put on the suit again. I used to have bad feelings about the prequels, but I think that's overwhelmingly decreased over the last 5 years. Like, yes, there's parts that should be shorter, like the podcast racing or pod racing, but I think what really made me like it was there was an edit I saw where it was all of the romantic parts put into like one movie, and it made so much sense that it was very evident that, like, I think George was just trying to do too much at times and not enough at others. So, but yeah, I think that's all we really got to say about Kenobi. Is it was fun and cheesy at times, not cheesy enough, not serious enough at others, and overwhelmingly a fun time and a good way to end theirs, or not end, but bridge their story arc.